December 21st, first day of winter. It's today, Christmas Eve. That's high 65, low 52, high of 64, low 52, high of 63, low 50, high of 62, low 53. Very beautiful temperatures this winter. Had some snow in November. One quick, it was one of those nationwide storms. And over here it did a bunch of rain and then snow. And that was pretty much it, so it was like day storm, and day or two of remainder of ice. Had a little bit of cold here and there, lows below freezing, but otherwise just incredible weather. So this is winter update. Biggest change is just the weather. Incredible weather. God. Just over 70, 72. Did a fire going though for breakfast. Breakfast! Not too much in here. Just kind of keeps getting more cramped, as I accumulate more and more things. But I'm starting to, use up foods, kind of getting rid of, my stash, of foods. So making some more rooms. Got one thing of chicken left. Chipotle chicken. Got two things of Tex-Mex beans. Two things. So this is like two things of jerk chicken and beans. This is 2 cans of cream of chicken, chickpeas, sausage, cream chicken, chickpeas, Got 2 things of Creole. Kind of the thing is 2 cans of beans with 1 box of pasta, penne rigat. Get my proteins, fibers, and then there's like onions and jalapenos and things, and then get the carbs. So that's kind of what I'm doing with my last 6 of those things. Got rid of my jugs. Using the winter shower again. But just open air winter shower, It's like I'll be probably doing some siding in the nude just to get some sunbathing in. Get my vitamin D's, midsummer vitamin D's. It's warm enough to. Got a deer. Wonder if that's Bambi. Kind of just moseying down the driveway. You would think that animals would be frightened of a voice, but it seems that it puts them at ease. He's kind of meandered down the driveway, and I'm not going to catch up with him. I'd just be scaring him off at that point. This is like noon almost. Kind of odd seeing one out at noon. Solar oven decommissioned for the winter. So those are the baby clovers. That's it wouldn't show, but there's a scattering of Clovers all over the place, you know. Rabbits come in at night. I guess probably cottontails. Should have cottontails and swamp rabbits. I haven't gotten a good look at them, but I'm thinking they're cottontails. Cottontails come in and nibble them down, and that's probably what this deer was doing. Seeing if he can get any clovers. Clovers are a treat. Oh, there he is. Still there. Yeah, it's Bambi. Hey, Bambi. Bambi's like getting pretty big. I don't want to scare him. Crazy thing is I haven't seen Bambi in a long time. They finished up logging over there right around when I got my load of lumber for the roofing. So I started using the generators and the saws, making all this ruckus over here when I had been quiet over here. And over there where they're logging, you know, they were making all the ruckus before, the loggers. But then they left, so it was quiet over there. And the coyotes started sounding off again. So you never know if maybe the coyotes had left the area to get away from the loggers, or if they were just being quiet because of the loggers. But when the loggers left, the coyotes started doing their hooting and hollering. So it's kind of like 3 changes all happened at the same time. And right at that time, when those 3 changes happened, I stopped seeing the baby deer. So I still got, I'm supposing, I got some baby potatoes in there. I haven't dug it up to check because I don't want to disturb them. You know, I may never know, you know, but I'm just going to let that go and see if it'll, you know, sprout new potatoes, you know, from it. And then this potato pile, potato pea pile, I am using the pine needles on for the compost toilet. Going with blackberry, it's kind of almost overwintering. So you can eat blackberry leaves. Blackberry root's actually really good. Well, not really good, but blackberry root is, I think you can actually buy it. You know, people sell blackberry root, powdered blackberry root or whatever, as like a supplement. Really not too much. I mean, it's not poisonous, not too much to it, but I guess the best thing for a vine. So this is thornless. So this is a nice vine, you know, is, you know, making cordage out of it. You just break it up into the long fibers. So previously what I tried doing was wrapping it around and then covering it with a mulch, but what the actual way is tip layering. So it grows, I think it's called tip layering. It grows and when it touches the ground, it should put off little roots, you know, where one of these nodules hits the ground, it should put off some roots. You kind of see it's in there. No, it's not. Yeah, it kind of is. No, it's not, I just broke it. Well, this one hasn't. But it might put nodules off this, you know. The spring, it might put some nodules off that to help with that. Do that. Actually, this is what I'm going to do. So that should kind of help it put roots down, you know. I think I just buried it too much and it was too dry of a summer for it to propagate that way. The ladybugs are fantastic as always. That's a ladybug, it's hard to get the focus in. You know, day like today, they're gonna be swarming the shack. And they end up dying in the shack. You know, I got the poison residues, you know, like I spray the corners and things, you know, to keep the spiders and roaches out and ants out, you know. But it's like a, you know, it lasts up to 3 months, it says on the can, but it definitely seems like it lasts longer, which is sweet. This is Raid. Raid is the only one. I tried all of the different, you know, spray poisons, you know, like from different stores, and Raid has so far been by far the best, you know. Yeah, so I mean the residuals end up getting them, but they're all over my log pile, like under the barks and in between the chunks of logs. So this is a thing, a garlic, and this is an onion. I didn't plant any. This looks like it might be a garlic. I didn't plant any this fall, so I'm gonna be leaving. So it's kind of letting it go to pasture, but you know, these were from last fall. You know, this has been in the ground over a year now. You know, and this was probably spring, you know. It was just too dry this spring and summer for my onions to grow, and they just kind of laid dormant. So, got those going. These guys. This is one of the wild garlics, wild garlic. And some regular garlic, it looks like. Some sweet onion. So these are, oh, let's see. Rhubarb. Maybe I don't got a tag for them. But just, I don't know, Walla Walla or just white sweet onion or something. They're dormant all summer, too dry of a spring, and then kind of summer, too dry of a summer. And they're crowded out by the primrose. So the black-eyed Susans and these evening primroses, and that foxglove that was here, they're supposed to be perennials, where they come back year after year. It's the same with those clovers. Those clovers are supposed to come back year after year, but none of them are coming back. So I'm thinking either these particulars aren't perennial, or it was just too dry this summer, and everything died. And that seems like the likely case. Everything just died because it got too dry. Like 2 months with no water. Oh, that's interesting. I don't really know what's going on there. It's a soldier fly larva. He was moving, but I do not see how he got himself into that position. Having his head in the debris, but the rest of him exposed. Oh, this is what happened. So something came into this pile last night and dug a little hole right there. And it must have overturned that rock when it did that. And the soldier fly larva had been hiding under the rock, and now it's exposed, but it's too cold right now for it to do anything. That's a honeybee. On the warm days, the honeybees come out. Where is he? I don't know what he's eating. I hear he's just kind of cleaning his chops. What? Oh, that's what he's doing. Oops. So that little orange thing right there is a piece of butterscotch chip. Oh, he just went right into there. He's in a little overhang. Yeah, there's not much life in winter, but there still is. You gotta look closer to see it, to find it. But it kind of makes it even more spectacular, because it gets you really looking. He's eating butterscotch. So my jar broke when I was making my butterscotch eggnog, so I had pretty much 2 cups of eggnog spill out onto the floor. Put some on the thing. You know, there's a little bit of a paper plate right there. That was from this morning's breakfast. You know, cornbread pancake with a bunch of syrup on it. Get a syrupy plate. And reuse it, you know, for about a week or so, but it just gets too degraded after a while. It's got all that nice sugar on there. So I put the, you know, nutritional things, sugars and things. I set out, you know, like the ants and the fly things can get some food from it. And if they don't get it, those sugars make their way into the soil. And then the microbes get it, you know. So, you know, rather than wasting them. So that's, you know, it's been, that was the old poo pile, you know, piled up. It's been, I don't know, 2 months now, maybe? You know, I've been giving it some coffee grounds every once in a while. You can kind of see a lot of the dark material has worked its way in, so it looks really grassy now, you know, as those, you know, the sediments have settled. I'll just say what's going on back here, you know. I'm hoping that grape's still alive. You know, this guy's still alive. You know, this guy's still alive. This grape is probably dead. I would be surprised if that grape's alive, but it would be a welcome surprise. Using this bunch of firewoods. Got those things. Nice goji berry. Pretty slim pickings now. No more blossoms. This is kind of interesting. Buried under the leaf matter. Oh, I'm just gonna show. There it goes. Strawberry. There's probably a couple more. I want to say there were a couple more. So they started, you know, planted them in that bed. Strawberries. But they seem to prefer growing outside the bed, you know. Still green. But, you know, inside, you can't really see the strawberries. Got a nice little wild garlic. So the wild garlics are doing pretty good. This is one of my garlics right here. Nope, this is a wild garlic as well. This is one that I never harvested, so it's like ahead of the pack. Either that or it's an onion. Probably an onion. I didn't plant any onions back here this fall because they never grew last year because it was too shaded. So that might be a 2-year-old onion. Been in the ground for 2 years. Probably eventually what I'll do is bunching potato onions, I think they're called. And there should be perennial, assuming they don't all dry out in a drought. It'd be nice. Put in a bed of potato onions, and then go away to the city for a few years. Plant in the bed pretty sparse, but then come back. 2 years later, 3 years later, and it's just a full thick bed of onions. And then just kind of pick onions here and there. I'm doing whatever projects I'm doing. Yeah, so that's the garden. It's just sleeping. The only thing that's really going are this is purple sweet onion. I did some purple sweet onions. And it looks like they all died in the summer drynesses. But this one managed to make it somehow. That right there is an old dead tree stump. So there's probably a lot of dead tree root. There's a dead tree stump, here's a dead tree stump. Or this is, tree stump I cut, and then that was a dead tree stump. So there's a lot of wood in the ground, and the wood maintains moisture. So that may be how this one survived. All of this stuff is winter cress. That's edible. It's actually the best time to eat it right now. No bitterness at all. As it gets older, it gets more bitter, and normal people don't like it, like bitter salad greens, but I don't mind bitter salad greens at all, Just fine with me, Just kind of pair it with this is my can collection. Pair it with, it's a thing of beauty. Yeah, I still don't know what I'm going to do with my cans. In general, what I'm going to do is put them in the garbage can and call that good for now. The aluminum I'm really liking because aluminum doesn't really corrode. I mean, it seems pretty rust resistant. You kind of see these cans. They're looking fine. But then the steel cans, my bean cans, those rust. So, steel is a lot harder to melt, higher temperature to melt it and form it into things, and it rusts. So it's kind of like I'm definitely leaning towards recycling the aluminum cans, or the steel cans, and making something out of the aluminum cans because it's a lower melting temperature to work with. And it doesn't corrode easily. I wouldn't mind having it exposed to the exterior. Bad thing is, I'm kind of looking at gears and things, and the gears and things would break pretty easy. But I mean, cast aluminum is still pretty durable, But in general, there's metal place. I'm kind of thinking of trading the steel cans, these little steel cans, for a big steel can, which would be like a water heater or a boiler, an old salvaged one, scrap metal. Kind of what I'm looking at doing, but for now it's just gonna be. And this is what happens. These are clear plastic kitchen bags, garbage bags, and then these are, more of your main can, kind of out in the garage can, garbage bag, and they all break down in the sun like crazy. Common misconception is the Pacific Gyre being full of plastic. It's just full of plastic shards because plastic breaks down so easily. All these bags, garbage bags, have deteriorated. It's piles of cans, And that one's the newest one. And it's, already, that's the side exposed to the sun, already, deteriorated. But what do you call it? this is a pot. Don't got room in the shack for it. And you know, the house is a construction site, 20 quart stainless steel. So this is gonna be my new bean pot right here. No room in the shack, let's keep it out here. My old 2 gallon, 3 gallon pot. I might do it as a, that's the small one. There it is, that one right there. I might put some firewood in here. Put some rocks at the bottom to give it some ballast. Put some firewoods in here. And then put this in here. And light the fire. And use it to heat up this water. You know, put in 10 gallons of water, 15 gallons of water probably, and then that 2-3 gallon pot full of firewood, you know, and kind of let it burn, floating in there, burning itself down to heat up the water. And then, you know, I have hot water down there. This is just temporary. It's kind of big picture once the house is ready. Moving everything from here down there. Rerouting these drain lines into a single line, which goes inside the house. And then putting these cans inside the house. So kind of, they'll all go, this will go into here. The other side, same thing, will go into here. Here, leaving this as is. Still have this, you know, but then this, the overflow, instead of going down here, we'll go inside. And then inside have been, kind of see, there's 3 and there's enough room for 4. A 4th can where the sink is. It's kind of 4 cans, 2 cans, 1 can, the door, you know, kind of ringing the perimeter with the cans, you know, so that'll be most of these cans going inside. And then how this right here is going right there, this will go to those inside cans. So basically this water catch will go into here, and this will officially be considered the settling pond or whatever. And then from the settling pond go into the cans on the inside, which will then, you know, provide the water to the house, you know. Once these cans are inside, doing a trench, you know, a shallow trench, because here it is December, Christmas Eve, and I'm going to be doing some sunbathing later, so it does freeze up, but so briefly, it doesn't freeze deep, you know. So, you know, instead of being a pump house, it's a rain collection house. That's kind of what this will be. And the other cans I'm not putting in there, get the aluminum cans. So that's kind of what the aluminum cans will be. My freshest batch. And that one mouse died. I think maybe I accidentally poisoned it. Yeah, no mouse turds. I did get some mouse turds in here once, but the mice really haven't been sticking around. Very nice. Yeah, and when I'm burning wood inside that, getting it all sooty, kind of like the outside is, I don't want to be cooking in it anymore at that point. Right now I bathe. I use it for bath water and cooking, you know, boiling my noodles in. Well, that's what this one's for. So once I start burning stuff in that pot, I got an even better pot to cook in now. That's still just temporary until I get the hot water set up down there. Oh yeah, I've already been in here. So that's kind of update on the water. I just scattered the clover or around there. No wheat. I figure I might as well just not even bother with the wheat. So I put like the better half of my clover seed out there. Do its nitrogen fixing, so it'll build up that soil. I scattered a bunch of seeds, tree seeds, persimmons and pawpaws and hazelnuts and crab apples, along this berm. A little over here. I didn't do too much over here. That's pretty much a finished surface. This is my water jug collection. You can kind of see. Let's see. That one is crinkled up. Let's see. That one is crinkled up. So these milk jugs deteriorate in sunlight as well, and they develop a hole for one reason or another, but the lid's still on, so it drains out but creates a vacuum, So you see them get crinkled, That one's got an actual hole in it. Maybe a stick fell on it. Broke that one. That one's empty. So I don't want to be making this bigger when they're just going to be getting, that one's empty. And it's going to be getting damaged by the UVs. So really no point in collecting them. So kind of what I've been doing now is cutting off the bottoms and throwing out the tops. Because why not? Now the bottoms might make some kind of a useful seed tray or thing, plant pot. So might as well hold on to them. Miscellaneous sticks and things. So I've been burning pine. And there's really not a whole lot you can do with softwood ashes, pine ashes. Hardwood ashes, though, you make lye from. Take the ashes, put it in some boiling water, slash water. More or less a certain amount of ashes to a certain amount of water. Let it sit for a few hours, a day, overnight. And strain it. And then that's lye water. And different things. I suppose you can use one of those testers, but you could put like a chicken egg in there and it should float maybe with like a quarter exposed, quarter size circle, above the water surface. I think that's it, And then you use your lye water with your pig fat or whatever other fat. Canola oil, it makes like a dishwashing liquid, some canola oils or large for your bar soaps to make some bar soaps, make soaps. So I don't know what I'm gonna do with a lot of these hickory logs just yet. The obvious thing is, so they're very split, so not too good for making actual boards out of. Some of them I might be able to make actual boards out of and do that, but the other ones, kind of the obvious thing is mushroom logs. Put some mushroom stock on them, cut them up into a more usable length, 2-foot lengths or something, 3-foot lengths, and inoculate with mushrooms and use them that way. But could also burn them, and hold on to those ashes to make lye. But it's just kind of, might as well just buy lye, buy 25 pounds of it dry or something. 40-pound bag of it dry, you know, and then that's enough lye to make a lifetime's worth of soap. It's a rough winter. It's kind of like a white Christmas. It's white right there. Look at that. It's not even that humid. That's beautiful. Still in the humid range. We're almost to the normal range. Yeah, it feels pretty normal, humidity. So where I'm at now with the house is cutting the metals for the outside of that, on the, you know, the siding side. So that's the metals for this side. So I would do the metals for that side. It got dark out when I was over here last. My thing broke. It was too dark to put it back together. So I need to put that back together so I can run the thing. On a sunny day like today, I could probably, no, it'd still drain the batteries too fast. That's kind of where I'm at on this is these guys stick out their tail with their, see, he's kind of like aiming his thing at me, stinger. He's not producing his stinger just yet though. Come on guy, what's up? They kind of put their stinger in your face though. One of them got so scared from the smoke from my kitchen fire though that he actually walked on my hand. Got over his fear. And so kind of the whole thing about critters is they have the same basic needs that everything has. Your food, your water, your shelter, and your security. And basically, this guy just doesn't want to get messed with. You know, he sees this big monster. You know, it's like, I'm like Godzilla. You know, Godzilla's coming up to you and coming right at you. You're going to be a little nervous and be like, hey, Godzilla, back off. You know, don't mess with me. And that's kind of what he's doing with his stinger. He doesn't want to get in a fight, but he's just protecting himself. You know, it's kind of fight or flight. He does a fight. His basic response is fight. Yeah, now he's getting a little more serious. But, smoke will drive them into more of a flight response because trying to flee fire. And, you know, one of them at the shack, cooking my breakfast, you know, the smoke, doing my outside cook fires. Yeah, it was blowing on the smoke, and for whatever reason, maybe the residual poisons in the shack, he didn't want to fly. And I kept trying to get him to, you know, leave because he was obviously uncomfortable from the smoke, but he wouldn't leave. So finally, he broke down, you know, and got to the very top of a something and couldn't get any higher, you know. And then finally, he walked on me, and you know, that broke down his fear of me. You know, the fear of the fire broke down the fear of a human. They're not vicious. Cool thing about wasps, these paper wasps, is that they eat caterpillars and other bugs. Got this cleaned out. Need to seal it. And the seats. So that bottom kind of layer of concrete. Let's get this little layer. That's what I did. That's just a single bag of concrete. I put the box in and then poured that single bag of concrete around it to lock that box in place. So when I had this main pour going, you know, that concrete flowing didn't push the box out of the way, you know. But with all the rains and things, you know, there's some exposed dirt down there. And pretty much down under the box, that whole perimeter ring. So I need to hit that up with some cement. It's kind of the drier when it rains and kind of saturates the soil. This gets wet, you know. And then I'll need hydraulic cement for when it's got flowing water. But, you know, the drier it gets, the better it is for just mixing some regular cement going around it, which I'll do maybe tomorrow. So I got a big hole. That's for this. This is for going through a cathedral ceiling. It could be like, here's one part of the ceiling, and then it's got the pitched, Here's the other, and then you can just cut that off or something. That just goes inside the attic, This is kind of a spacer to keep stove, hot stove pipe from wood and all that. There's a gap. I'm going with some 6-inch pipe, and then through this I'm putting some insulated 6-inch pipe, which is more or less 8 inches. This is more or less 8 inches. So there'll be some insulated pipe going through that. And then I got some actual like kiln insulation, high heat insulation. So first of all, this regular pink insulation doesn't really burn. It turns white, the pink coloration burns off, but the rest of it is pretty stable, But I got some high heat insulation. This is rated, I don't know, so many 100 degrees, maybe 1,000 degrees, but actual kiln insulation, like for firing clays and things. I got some of that insulation. And I'll probably put some of that high heat insulation in there. And that goes through there. So that'll be kind of protection between these two walls. This gets the same setup over there, where it'll be the 8 inches plus another 4 inches. And I'm putting a 2-foot section of insulated. So kind of where it comes out, you normally do a T on the outside, clean out at the bottom, and then, the smoke kind of goes, this way, and then it goes up and down, kind of a T like this. Clean out at the bottom and the stack on the top. But the Lowe's doesn't have that in the insulated. They just have the T in the regular black, and the regular black would rust out. So for now, what I'm doing is I'm just going to stick it out through there until maybe Lowe's gets one, or I'll just pick one up from a store, and bring it out here, on a weekend. When I'm going to, when I'm in Nashville, I'll pick it up at the store. But it's gonna be a little hokey, until then. Unless I just get a black steel tee, and go from the insulated to the black steel, and then have that black steel go up. That might be what I do. Yeah, that's probably what I'll do. This black steel, like a black steel tee is like $40-50, and it'll just be a waste, I don't know. But basically, this is for the stove. Goes through there. Once I put it in this wall, this needs some vacuuming and that's glue and blah blah blahs. It'll be going to like right here, and then butting into that, it'll go like right here. On this side, this is the tub. Very nice tub. No room for a P-trap. So it said on the box like 6 inches. But that's not 6 inches. So I'm going to be putting it on some cinder blocks. I'm doing a little cinder block pedestal right in this area. So that'll be like right here. Something. I don't know. Maybe right here. Yeah, that's kind of a... This wall needs to be... I can't remember. 32 inches. But I'm going to go, I think, 34 inches. I'm going to go 34 inches. I'm pretty sure that's what I'm going. And I'll just kind of play. And I'm thinking do the same 34 over here. So keep it at an actual like 45 at that point, So 34, kind of figure out where I want them, to kind of So I can crawl under this vanity and put my hands down in there, and can stand back here, you know, and be looking at the wall, back of the vanity wall, or, you know, the tubs, mixer valve, and inverters. So I gotta float that. Everything's been floated, kind of, except for where the lumbers are. I gotta do the installations and ceiling. So I got for installations over there. The rest of the scraps will be going up in these voids. Kind of, you know, there's 8 inches, and then here's that thing. So kind of, in between, you know, the 8-inch section of the wall. So this is, I think, 9 inches thick it needs for the R30s. They'll have 8 inches, and then there's a little bit of gap between this front facing and the back, you know. The front will get the 24-inch on center, the R13 installation. And that box right there is kind of what keeps the insulation off of, keeps regular insulation off of the stovepipe. Floated, primed, still need to dry lock that. I got some kills. So things like kills and that, you know, that one I put over the fire. It was a 50-degree day, which is technically warm enough, you know, but when the tar is cold, it's real thick. You can't really use it. So I put it over the fire, you know, get it going. Just the whole bucket itself. I needed a little bit more, so I picked up a gallon, put the gallon in there. Put that over the fire. It's you kind of see the soot on the outside. And I got it better. And I had to thin it with some gasoline to get it even better. That was a 50-degree day, you know. On one of these days, you know, when it's like this, 50, 60, I got some kills. I got that. I don't know if it'll focus. There's a sprayer right there, but this looks like it's more for a this is for 4-gallon or larger compressor. And this is a 6-gallon compressor. If I had to water that down, that kills is real thick. Water it down to like pretty much nothing to get it to actually work, you know. And yeah, you know, it wasn't worth it. So I'm gonna roll on the kills and kind of see what I sprayed over there. Yeah, kind of. It was really hard to tell. But I want to spray all the exposed wood and probably spray this Galvy just to kill the glare on the Galvy, because that is some serious glare. And then there's carpenter bees around. They're like bumblebees, and they chew holes in everything. All of your wood needs to pressure treated. You'd think that they wouldn't chew through pressure treated because it tastes the chemicals, but they go ahead and chew through pressure treated. Carpenter bees are a serious thing around here, and kind of, you know, I'm hoping that priming and painting will dissuade them from chewing through the wood, the exposed wood on the house. So, on nice days, like, you know, today to tomorrow, you know, do some sunbathing painting, you know, priming, and then painting of these woods and this. They need 40 degrees or so, I'm guessing. So it's got to be a warm day, warm, dry day. Kind of a spell of warm, dry days. A big gob you know, of something might still be wet the next day. You know, so if it rains the next day, that gob could get washed off. It's not the end of the world, but now you just, you know, you got a spotty prime job. Yeah, so kind of the next things are doing the metal on the siding, doing this, bringing the, you know, those are the bottom plates. Those are pressure treated bottom plates. You know, there's some more pressure treated bottom plates right there, and then the actual stick frames, regular pines in the back. Doing these bottom plates. I just got that sitting there. This has a picture with the dimensions on it, which is sweet, but I wanted to actually do a measurement. You know, I didn't want to trust the picture and end up being like, oh, it was marked wrong, you know. So I just wanted to make sure measure. Kind of the thing is making sure I got wood right back here, you know, under this flange. So you drill through these flanges, and then you put like a, I like to use roofing nails because they have a flat head and they're aluminum maybe, you know, so they don't really rust, you know, so they don't stick out much. They have spread the load because of their flat, wide, big flat head, and they don't rust, you know. Nice and thick. This is like 3/16 thick, it looks like. Impressively thick. I mean, this is like a monster thick. But you want to make sure you got some woods, you know, back here. So that's why it's out. But get those framed in, you know, scoot that out of the way. Get it framed in, you know, to probably right about, probably to this right here. This wall right here is there's gonna be a wall that goes like this. And then right here it goes up and over to that. And this wall right here is gonna, you know, more or less butt into this. So, you know, like that one is pretty much well, it steps out right there for the freezer. It steps out 2 inches. But on this side, I want to step out everything over there 2 inches. So like right here on this side of this wall, it's going to be close to this block. But on that side, it's going to be stepped off an inch or two. Over here, it's, you know, I can do my elbows for my plumbings and my electricals, you know, get them up and around, you know, going through that hole in the wall. But over here, it's for the washing machine. There's going to be a washing machine, like right here or so. I'm not getting the washing machine this trip, but I'm plumbing up for it. Washing machine uses a 2-inch drain line, and it's just, you know, you got 3.5. I can't see cutting out 2 inches, leaving just this tiny little bit. And if it was one stud, I'd be like, all right, it's just one stud. But this is all of the studs going this way. So it's kind of, you know, it's just a waste, you know, to be cutting 2 inches. I think it's a waste to be cutting 2. So I'm standing them off, you know, an inch or two. So I can either put the whole plumbing tube back there or just do a little notch. It might seem like the easiest thing is just to do a whole 2 inches. But then, you know, your drain line flops around, you know, so it's kind of ideally would be maybe like 1 inch gap and a 1 inch notch in the back of the thing. Giving it 2 inches, but then the notch kind of locks the plumbing line in place, you know. Give it some dabs of glue to make it like a real nice tight fit. But, you know, given that gap, you lose floor space, so there's no point in doing it a gap all the way over here, because there's just no need for a gap over here. So it's kind of like this one, gap, no gap. So this is December 24th. I got my final order of materials in. And it's special ordering a wood cook stove. Not a wood cook stove, but a wood heating stove. For, I think, 1,000 square foot. This is like more or less 900 square foot. But then this corner from the door to right here is kind of whatever. You know, that right there is all freezer space, fridge/freezer. And this right here is going to be, you know, more or less unheated, you know. So it's kind of ends up being maybe like out of the 900 square foot, you know, 500 or so square foot that'll actually be this half, this 2/3, you know, is like the living space that'll be heating, you know. So plenty big for what I'm doing, you know. Entirety, it's good enough. A little overkill, perfectly matched. But in actuality, it's plenty, you know, plenty enough. Kind of also in that order, that's a special order, you know, because it uses wood logs, and so few people buy them, that stoves like that, you know, they don't keep them in the store, so they got to get shipped. So it's kind of a special order thing. When I did these windows, yeah, I was just going off of their website, you know. I definitely should have went to the store, you know, because it would have made it simpler, you know. Like, it's just, they got this different way of doing windows. You know, it's kind of like that. I couldn't do these windows on that order because it's like a different system that they do for windows, where each order that isn't normally stocked is just custom made to whatever the thing is, you know. Even though it shows like the standard 1x3 on the website, you know, it's kind of, I don't know, it's different. But I got those on order, and they should be coming in before this. So I may pick them up from the store, or just have them add those to the other order. The other order will be the, you know, so it's kind of the windows, the stove, the insulation for these. You kind of interior perimeter walls, get the R13s, that insulation. The drywall for everywheres. This is going to be getting just a ton of insulation, but then also a bunch of like 4x8 sheets of 3/4 insulation. So it's kind of like the fiberglass 2x4 insulation. That's like R13 needs 3 inches. R30 needs 9 inches. And this 3/4 foam insulation is maybe, I don't know, I'd have to see what it says, but more or less R5 or so. So we do a layer of the foam insulation, 3/4 foam insulation, over these framed walls. Caulk every seam so it's airtight. And then I should have enough for, I can't remember what I ordered. I think 17 sheets, but I have to see what I ordered. And I'm not entirely sure what all that 17 sheets does. I can't remember now. But it's at least one layer. I think it's 8 sheets for a layer. So maybe 2 layers, or just a second layer on this wall and this wall and the ceiling, you know. Kind of see this is where the wall's going to be. This is kind of a standard door height right here. That's the ceiling height. So I got 1.5 feet or so, you know, between the door and the ceiling. This door, I think, swings out. I can't remember what I think it swings this way. It's the left hand, yeah. Goes like this. So I got plenty of ceiling height. So I'm going to take this door. This is where the door's going to be for the freezer, right here. I'm going to move it up. I could move it up as much as 18 inches. I don't know how high I want to move it up. So the cold air falls to the ground. And I don't want it escaping under the door. So raise that door up 18 inches, and then it'll really hold the cold in good for that bottom 18 inches. On the bottom 18 inches of this thing. So fill in the freezer with these kinds of things, you know, raise up the bottom rack. Like kind of like pretty much like this, you know. This is like 30 inches or so. This is 24 and this is like another 5 or 6 inches. But put a, you know, like a styrofoam cooler, you know, like a picnic chest, styrofoam picnic chest on the ground, and then keep some ice inside that chest, you know, and then put some ice up here, you know, milk jugs full of frozen ice, you know, maybe with some road salt or something, road salt water, so it, you know, it'll stay frozen even at, you know, like 29 degrees or something, you know. I mean, and then it'll start melting when it's at 29. And when it starts melting, I can just take it and put it in my actual freezer to refreeze it, you know. So everything in that chest will always be below 32. And then the ones up here will be cascading cold air down, you know, and kind of the cold air that leaks out of that chest will just be staying in that pool of cold air, you know, down on the ground in here, you know, from raising up the thing. The one thing is, you know, I don't want to step up too high. I won't be bringing a wheelbarrow in, you know, I'll be walking in. So 18 inches seems like it's going to be too high. So while I could go 18 inches, I'll probably go like 12 inches up, you know, so it'll be like a 12-inch pony wall, and then the door opening, and then 6 inches of a little top over the door. Before it continues. So it's kind of the things on the shelves. And those little plastic tubs that I got. Fill it with some cedar shavings or whatever, you know, do a layer of shavings, a layer of like potatoes, you know, so they're not touching each other. And then a layer of shavings, and then a layer of potatoes, so they're not touching each other. A layer of shavings, a layer of, you know, and that tote. And this one, carrots. And this one, apples. You know, kind of mold grows out. You know, it doesn't grow deep into things. It likes the air. It needs the free-flowing air. And when you put the pine shavings on it like that, keep it covered. What do you call it? Pine shaving, any kind of, a lot of different things. Peat moss is a popular one. But it's kind of like cedar shaving. Cedars are antifungal, so they just seem like cedar shavings would be the best, I would think. But it keeps the air off of them, so the molds don't want to grow. And you don't want them touching, because then it'll kind of create little, you know, it'll spread moistures or something. I don't know why, but, you know, they'll rot if they're touching. More likely to rot, you know, so to get maximum life, keeping them maximum storage. Doing, you know, not touching. And buried in shavings and a thing, you know, so with a frozen jug up here, cascading the cold air down, you know, that jug will be like 29 degrees, you know, and then right here it might be 32 degrees. These things might be freezing. And then right here it might be 33 degrees, 34 degrees, and then back down to 29 degrees in the basin, you know, where those chest freezers are, where I'll be keeping the actual frozen goods, you know. And then if I don't want, like, if this actually is below freezing right here, and I want to keep apples here, I can just not have the jug there. I could put the jug over here, or I could just do straight up water in this jug, so this jug will melt at 32, you know. And kind of with that melting, those molecules are being excited and using up the heat energy just to move around and become liquid, you know. So that's kind of the plan for the freezer, the thoughts behind it. For my lifestyle, I might not need it, but it's something where, you know, if I were to shoot Bambi, now I got 100 pounds. Well, Bambi's so little still. He's a yearling. Don't, you didn't hear that, Bambi, okay? But do a big thing of meat, you know, a bunch of fish or something, you know, set out a trot line and end up getting 10, 20 pound catfish or something, or carp or something. Can't can it all, so I'd want to freeze it, or at least put it in the fridge, you know, on the shelves, you know, to cool it down, stabilize it until I can get around to canning it, you know. So it's kind of there is an obvious benefit to having it when winters are like this, you know. It's just kind of I don't know. Can't go wrong. Yeah. So, oh yeah, in the order, the bridge of foam insulation, and I don't know if I said it. Drywalls. It's gonna be all 1/2 inch, depending on where you're at. Some codes want you to have 5/8 for the ceiling. You get, you know, this extra 1/8 of an inch gives you more fire protection. One thing, and that's just kind of by location. And with this setup right here, it's not going to do me any good, you know. Once it burns through there, it's not burning, you know. It's done, you know. It's the burning that goes on the inside that matters, you know. That's kind of where I'm at, you know. There's no floor above me. And also, it's kind of like, that's probably about 10 feet or so. You kind of see standard is like just under 8 foot. You know, if you depending on where you're at, if you have a wall that's over 10 foot, you want fire blocking somewheres in that wall. So if fire gets in there, and goes up, you know, it hits the blocking, and it can't just keep going. You know. Again, being one story, it doesn't matter in my situation. And then even if it did, you know, it's kind of, my max is about 10 feet. And even still, this ends up being fire blocking. You know, it's kind of, so you may be used to seeing like fire blocking in the centers of the walls. That's because those are 10-foot walls, you know. The point of doing it in the centers, it kind of keeps these from bowing. You know, having blocking, in order for one to go down, when the blocking is nailed into it, in order for one to like move, it's got to kick that blocking out. And then that blocking is wedged in there tight, so it can't shift. So it keeps your wall straight, you know. That would be a benefit to do blocking, you know, even in a situation like this, you know, where I don't need it. You know, if I was really wanted a perfectly straight wall, putting in that blocking would help keep these from warping, you know, over time. But they're really not going to warp that much at all, and I don't really care, you know. The little bit of warping that they do is going to be fine by me. And it's like, I'm not building this to, you know, made up codes. This is Colorado. All of these walls have to be floating. These little 2x4 walls I'm doing, they're like, you gotta make those floating. Too bad, you know, and that's just a bunch of craziness, you know. That's what I think about the codes. Instead of, you know, so it's like, they don't want this to interfere with the, you know, designed, you know, structure, you know, where the settling is supposed to occur, where the load bearing is supposed to occur. If I put a wall right here and it settles this, I could throw something else out askew, blah, blah. So rather than making their codes, you know, to address better footings, you know, address settling issues, they make framing codes that are like, oh, you have to have floating walls. You know, that's Colorado for you. That's liberals, how they think. And that's probably it in the load. I can't remember what I got delivered, what I got on order. But so that gets delivered on January 9th, you know, kind of because of these special orders, mainly because of the stove, you know, and those should be before the stove, but because it's the holidays, there's Christmas and New Year's and Hanukkahs and Kwanzaa's and things, you know. It's, you know, there's a lot of deliveries being made. So January 9th, I figured it was a good, expected time. So before then, I want to get these framings in. Then I want to get my plumbings and electricals run. You know, kind of the first bit of plumbings is for the tub. So I can sit in the tub and take a nice, you know, garbage can heated shower. Very nice. Weather like this, 60s, it doesn't matter. You know, it's actually more comfortable to be bathing outside in the sun, because the sun is like 10 degrees warmer, and down here it's actually colder because because of the being covered and insulated. Well, it says 60, but if you're to do one of those ray gun thermometers, you know, it'd probably be 80 degrees in the sun, like that's feeling the thing. But when it's like 40 degrees out, 50 degrees out outside, you know, on the warm days, when the warm days are 40s and 50s, I definitely want to have the tub set up so I can do a, you know, hot tub, you know, this thing set up on shower, just whoosh. Yeah, so get the framings in and electricals. General plan. There's the freezer. Here's the panic room. Have my batteries, my inverter, charge controller in here, and have the solar power wiring run into here. And then from here, have my, you know, residential wiring run around. So I want to run this residential wiring around to the various places along the perimeter walls, you know, before January 9th, you know. So when the load comes in, you know, I can just put in some insulation, put on the drywall, you know, have the plumbing and electricals already pulled. There's going to be like another 30 studs in that order. And I can't remember, maybe some other stuff. But I know there's 30 studs. So these right here, this framing is more or less the perimeter and the tub framing, you know, but then, and I got extra, you know, but I don't necessarily have the framings to do this, you know, to do this. This right here will be a while. So it looks like camper, like propane stoves. Generally just need the propane hookup, and then it's just piezoelectric for the starter, and no hood. Looks like you don't need a hood. But I can always retrofit a hood in here pretty easy, you know, how that's on that side. This right here will be for a hood vent if I ever need it. So over the tub, I may do a exhaust fan out to there, or this thing, you know. This isn't a bathroom. This is open to the whole area, so I'm not sure how bad the humidity will be from a shower. Granted, I'm not taking long hot showers because hot water is in limited supply. So steam from it and then the condensation from that steam is going to be a minor issue. Granted, how little of it I'll be producing because of the lack of hot water, limited amount of hot water. And then for, granted, the size of the area that it'll be going into, you know, instead of a 5 by 10 bathroom, 50 square foot. This is 500 square foot. And instead of a 30-minute shower, 10 times the amount of area. And that's like that. But then you go cubic feet. I got some 10-foot ceilings at the thing. Cubic feet's even more. But then instead of a 30-minute shower being a 3-minute shower, so it's 1/10 of the amount of steam, 10 times the amount of air to heat up. And that's heated with wood cook stoves, which dry it out, dry the air out. So I don't think I'll need an exhaust fan for the tub, but if need be, it's kind of what I'm looking at, So in general, you have a damper on the outside, a damper at your hood, or a damper at your exhaust fan for the thing, So I could use the same duct, have this duct go up, this duct go up over, have a T, and then go out, So the damper's at the point of use would probably keep, when this one's running, keep air from getting sucked up over there, Or even if air did get sucked up over there, though the actual units come with their own dampers, as part of the assemblies, they come with their own dampers. And it's kind of like, here typically, they have the louver, little slats, louvereds. Those are the dampers, they're naturally closed, and then when the air is blowing, they open up, so kind of surface, outside edge is the damper on the things. That would be going right there, though. It doesn't look like I need this. Looking into it, no one seems to be using hoods with the propane. I was thinking propane fumes were bad, but maybe they're not that bad. Maybe it's just running it for hours and hours on end, because kind of what I remember was propane heaters, not using propane heaters indoors. I guess the thing with the propane heater is you run it all night, and after 8 hours it would fill it up with the fumes. But if you're cooking for just 30 minutes and you're not sleeping, you're actually awake to do cooking, you're conscious enough to realize that the fumes are getting to be an issue, so you shut it off. But even then, it's like 30 minutes of cooking isn't enough. That's kind of what it seems like the thing is with the propane, So I'm not going to be doing a hood or an exhaust fan, but it wouldn't be hard to add in later on if I did feel the need, like I start looking into it more, and it's kind of like, yeah, I might as well just be on the safe side, but there'll be a wall right here. I really don't know how wide. Looks like propane RV stove / oven combo. So this is kind of, be mainly the stove for just a quick heat up. I want to get some water boiling for some instant rice. I don't want to heat up the whole house, it would take too long to heat up with the wood, so I just want like 5 minutes of quick propane to boil some water. Or I want to cook some muffins and I don't want them to burn, so I want a nice controlled environment for the baking oven. That's kind of what this is for. They're like 18 and 22 inches, kind of depending on, I think, they're nice and small, compact for RVs. Standard stove is 30 inches, but these are 18 and 22. I'm looking at like a 22, 3 burners on top with the oven, 22 inch wide. Bad thing is, will it fit a pizza? It's kind of a normal large pizza is a good meal for me. That's a good size for me. If I have to do little dinky pizzas, it's kind of like, something that'll fit into a 22 inch oven. I might as well do 2. But they do have a rack in there, so you can cook 2 pizzas at once to make it a proper meal. So I'm thinking, like 18 inches cabinet with 22 inches of stove, whatever that is, pretty much 6 feet or so, 5-6 feet of pony wall right here, the bar counter, and then the stove, Yeah, and this was kind of winded, long and winded. Some more J-tiles for around the windows. Some last bit of a ridge. Yeah, so it'd be kind of a trench going down, a vault at the top, and then a trench down, and a vault kind of maybe right around in there. And from that vault going into the house, you know, that hole. And kind of I want those at least like 6-8 inches below grade, at least, you know. It probably really needs to be 1 inch below grade to be fine. You know, it's, so far last winter and this winter, and the little bit that I was out here the winter before, just scouting the area, it seemed like it didn't even freeze an inch. You know, freeze maybe like 1/4 of an inch down. That would be about as far as the freeze depth would go. And then record cold. It's pretty cold. -4, maybe -20 was the record cold for this area. You know, since they're taking records. And those records are going to be broken more and more often. You know, so right now all it needs is like 1/4 inch freezing. Squirrel over there. I'm guessing this is another squirrel. I can't see it. Yeah, all it needs is 1/4 of an inch right now. That will, yeah, it's a squirrel. That's probably not going to show. Yeah. But, you know, next year, maybe it'll need 3/8, you know, the year after that, maybe it'll need a 1/2 inch, you know, as the extremes get worse and worse, you know, as the weather deteriorates. So, I wouldn't mind being well below what's needed, just to be on the safe side. Use some forward conduit with probably get electricals just shoved through it. Right now, it'll be just plumbing's going down, and I'm thinking about setting up the solar panels on this one. I'd probably get more sunlight on that one, so I may just run electricals, leave the panels up there, and run the electricals through here. But that's DC, that line, you know, going from the panels to the inverter. And DC loses strength real fast over distances. You know, it's one of the reasons we have AC power. You know, it's a lot more dangerous than DC, but, you know, it can travel further without, you know, degradation. So I might be getting, you know, a bunch of watts up there, 400 watts from my panels, but down here it ends up being maybe 300 watts or something. The thickness of the wire, I don't do low voltage solar panel electricals, but the thickness of the wire, the gauge, and I guess the metal type determine the amount of loss. You know, you can take the distance times the gauge or something. You know, there's some electricals math which will tell you how much loss there'll be. And it's not unheard of to do a run like that, but it's much more preferable to have it right on top of the thing. So, you know, that might be more sun contact. But once you do the maths, considering the gauge of the wire, I may end up with more power putting it down here, even though I get less sunlight down here, you know. So it may be worth looking into the solar maths a little more, kind of min-max the system, you know, what is actually more preferable, you know, up there or down here. Keeping in mind that you want this to be a thick gauge copper, which is very expensive, you know. I don't know, I have to price it. But it's not something you really want to be doing. I'd probably be doing it, just kind of throwing it out there. I'd probably be doing it with 8 gauge, you know, if I leave my panels up there. Any distance like that. 6 gauge would just be too expensive. 4 gauge is what you use for grounding. That's really thick. Oh, I guess depending on where you're at, you want 2 grounding rods, at least 10 feet apart. You know, and this is for your kind of home breaker box, which is, I don't know, 120 amp, 200 amp, you know, depending on what you're doing. Which I am not doing, you know, I'm nowhere near that, but I'm thinking about, you know, even if I leave the things up there, you know, I have that grounding rod up there. I'm gonna be putting at least 1 grounding rod down here, so I got 2, you know. This right here would be massive, you know, it's like 50 feet apart, you know. This is a perfect time to be putting in ground rods. Broken up the bedrock. I can only get that one like 5 feet down because of the bedrock. And here the bedrock's all broken out and it's just loose gravel. So I can drive grounding rods pretty easy, you know, before I backfill. And it's like, what do you call it? I would be, you know, doing both down here or just leave one up there. Eventually what's going to happen up there is a really big thing. A lot bigger than that. I got these garbage cans. Garbage cans are nice because they're cheap and maneuverable. I can drag them around real easy. I can just dump them over, you know. They appear to be sun resistant. You know, no real degradation. All of these black plastics appear to be pretty good. Yeah, so that's less of the load. A little bit of that. I'm going to use that. I should have 1 full piece and then some scrap pieces. You know, I'll be using those and that over there. And then the scrap pieces are for around the windows and the sides of the doors. The garbage cans aren't, you know, they got like PPEs or something, whatever. Chemicals in them. So eventual is actual potable water tanks. This one's kind of a skink. I could do a 24 by 24 area right here. But maybe have that be 1 floor. And then a 2nd floor, which goes over the shack. This is maybe go 50 by 24 covered area. Little skink. Tough skinks, because they got small eyes. Salamanders got big eyes. Skinks are by far more common around here, but there is a surprising amount of variety of salamanders. I think a 500-gallon potable water tank, maybe 6 foot diameter, 4 foot tall, something like that. 500 or 700 gallon is 200 pounds, so I could still move it. You know, it's maybe 150 pounds or something. Heavy, but I can move it. But a bunch of those, you know, for my water, my animals' water, my crop fields water. You know, this 2 months of dry, I was using the water on the concrete, so I couldn't water my plants, so they died. That was 2 months with no water. That 2 months would be 3 months, 4 months, you know. And it's kind of like at 4 months, that tree will die, that tree will die, that tree will die. You know, it's kind of, these things aren't made for desert conditions, you know. So if in the future, you know, it gets too extreme, there'll be some massive die-offs and this will turn barren. But at least I'll have water saved up to water some things, you know, to keep it from being too bad. Because I won't be making concrete, you know. Animals use a lot of water. I plan on keeping ducks, and ducks really dirty up their water bad. They clean their bills in it. They need to for proper hygiene. I'm gonna sit down here and wait for Bambi to return. Nice white Christmas.